The fall of the United States and NATO, Hegemony, how the Afghanistan war unmasked Western weakness and fueled the BRICS-led global shift. Join us as we dive into a monumental shift in global power, exposing how the 20-year Afghanistan conflict became a turning point for United States and NATO influence worldwide. From the chaotic 2021 withdrawal to Afghanistan's pivot toward BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, this video examines the pivotal events, motivations, and geopolitical consequences that define a new, multipolar world order. Roots of Western hegemony and the decision to invade Afghanistan. The post-Cold War ascendancy of United States power. After the Soviet Union's fall in 1991, the United States emerged as the world's unrivaled superpower, while NATO, originally conceived as a defense alliance, transformed into a powerful tool for expanding Western geopolitical interests. During this period, the United States and its allies were emboldened to pursue what was often termed liberal hegemony, a strategy aimed at promoting democracy, human rights, and free market policies across the globe. This vision became particularly potent in regions where Western powers saw an opportunity to gain influence over strategic resources, namely oil and natural gas, strategic importance of Afghanistan. Afghanistan sits at the crossroads of Central and South Asia, bordered by resource-rich regions like the Middle East and Central Asia. Its strategic location has historically made it a prize for global powers seeking dominance over trade routes and access to valuable natural resources. Recognizing this, the United States and NATO sought to establish a long-term presence in Afghanistan, ostensibly to combat terrorism, but with deeper, more strategic objectives in mind. Afghanistan's location offered the potential for a military and political foothold that could bolster Western influence over nearby regions, especially in the context of counterbalancing Russia and China. Official rhetoric versus hidden motives. While the invasion was justified as a response to terrorism, underlying motives extended beyond security concerns. Afghanistan's unexplored mineral resources, which include vast quantities of rare earth elements, lithium, and other critical minerals, were an enticing prospect for the West. Control over these resources would allow Western powers to exert economic leverage and secure supplies essential for emerging technologies. Additionally, establishing bases in Afghanistan would provide logistical advantages for operations in both the Middle East and Central Asia. Despite these ambitions, the rhetoric surrounding the war often centered around freedom and democracy, a narrative that ultimately clashed with the harsh realities of occupation. The brutal reality. Why the United States and NATO failed in Afghanistan. Misjudging Afghanistan's tribal and cultural complexities. One of the most glaring missteps in the Afghanistan campaign was the profound underestimation of Afghan society's resilience and cultural uniqueness. Afghanistan is a complex tapestry of ethnic groups and tribal affiliations, each with deep historical roots and a strong sense of autonomy. This intricate social fabric did not mesh easily with the Western model of a centralized democratic state imposed by external forces. Despite having advanced military resources, NATO struggled to win local loyalty, with many Afghans viewing the Western presence as an unwanted occupation rather than a liberating force. The Taliban's adaptive strategies. The Taliban, initially underestimated as a disorganized insurgent group, quickly proved to be a formidable adversary. Leveraging local knowledge, cultural awareness, and historical grievances, the Taliban organized a resistance that grew increasingly sophisticated over time. The group's ability to maintain control in rural areas and gain support from disenfranchised locals highlighted NATO's miscalculations and inability to adapt to guerrilla-style warfare. Strategic failures and corruption. The United States and NATO poured billions into military campaigns and reconstruction projects in Afghanistan. Yet many initiatives proved ineffective. A significant portion of development aid was lost to corruption, with funds often failing to reach intended recipients. Military operations were similarly plagued by inefficiencies, with resources directed toward projects that were hastily organized and poorly executed. This misallocation of resources not only failed to achieve stability, but also fueled resentment among Afghans, deepening the perception of Western occupation as exploitative rather than supportive. The hasty withdrawal and its consequences. By 2021, the United States and NATO faced the stark reality that their prolonged presence in Afghanistan had not succeeded in building a stable, self-sufficient Afghan state. With domestic support for the war waning and costs mounting, Western powers began a rapid withdrawal. The speed and nature of this exit, which saw military equipment abandoned and Afghan allies left behind, underscored the extent to which Western powers had miscalculated. The abrupt exit not only left Afghanistan vulnerable, but also exposed the limits of Western power in a highly public manner, providing a significant propaganda victory for rival nations. Afghanistan's strategic pivot to BRICS and the SCO sphere. The appeal of BRICS and the SCO. Following the withdrawal of United States and NATO forces, Afghanistan sought new alliances that promised respect for its sovereignty without the strings attached. The Shanghai Cooperation Organization, led by China and Russia, had long provided an alternative to NATO's influence in Eurasia, creating a security and cooperation platform that respected member states' autonomy. BRICS, which focuses on economic collaboration and sustainable development, appealed to Afghanistan as it sought to stabilize its economy and assert its independence on the world stage. Afghanistan's engagement with the SCO and BRICS. Afghanistan's interest in BRICS and SCO frameworks reflects a broader trend among global South nations seeking independence from Western influence. Unlike NATO, which often operates through military force and economic conditionality, the SCO and BRICS advocate for a multipolar world that prioritizes sovereignty and non-intervention. This alignment provides Afghanistan with a vision of partnership that contrasts sharply with the Western model, promising growth through cooperation rather than coercion. Significance of Afghanistan's shift to the east. Afghanistan's pivot towards BRICS and the SCO has broader geopolitical implications. By aligning with these blocs, Afghanistan signals its alignment with a rising tide of nations challenging Western dominance and seeking a multipolar order. The growing importance of BRICS and the SCO, both of which are expanding their membership and influence, underscores a transformative shift in global power. For Afghanistan, these alliances offer a path towards sovereignty and economic growth that Western intervention had failed to deliver. Failures and setbacks. How the invasion backfired on the West. The economic and social costs of the war on Western powers were immense. The financial cost of the Afghanistan war was staggering, with the United States alone estimated to have spent over $2 trillion. These funds, diverted from domestic needs such as healthcare, infrastructure, and education, strained Western economies and contributed to internal challenges. The economic impact of the war, coupled with its lack of a definitive outcome, weakened Western nations' positions both domestically and internationally, eroding the justification for interventionist policies. The Afghanistan war severely damaged the West's moral standing on the global stage. Reports of civilian casualties, night raids, and instances of torture contradicted the West's proclaimed mission of promoting human rights and democracy. These incidents eroded trust among the international community and fueled resentment, particularly in the global South, where memories of colonialism and exploitation remain deeply ingrained. NATO's failure to secure Afghanistan and the visible consequences of this defeat raised questions about the alliance's effectiveness and future role. The Afghanistan debacle showcased the limits of Western military power, highlighting that even advanced militaries could not maintain control over a resistant population. This setback has since diminished NATO's diplomatic influence, leaving a void that emerging alliances such as BRICS and the SCO are eager to fill. The rise of the BRICS Plus bloc and Afghanistan's role in a multipolar world are pivotal developments. As BRICS expands to include new members from across the global south, it is positioning itself as a legitimate counterweight to Western-led institutions like the World Bank and IMF. The expansion, often referred to as BRICS Plus, represents a coalition of nations that view the Western model of economic governance as unrepresentative and, in many cases, exploitative. This growing bloc offers an alternative vision of global development based on mutual respect, sovereignty, and inclusivity. Afghanistan's strategic location and untapped resources offer significant potential within the BRICS Plus framework. The country's wealth of natural resources, including lithium and other minerals crucial for technology industries, presents economic opportunities that could foster development through international partnerships. Moreover, Afghanistan's location as a crossroads of trade routes enhances its value as a strategic hub for trade and cooperation, aligning with the BRICS vision of interconnected growth across Eurasia. Unlike Western-led alliances, which often come with political and economic conditionalities, BRICS Plus promotes a model of partnership based on equality and non-intervention. Afghanistan's potential participation in BRICS Plus exemplifies a departure from Western imperialism and a step toward a more balanced, multipolar world order. This alliance could offer Afghanistan stability, access to investment, and integration into a cooperative framework that emphasizes self-determined development rather than external control. The BRICS Plus vision aligns with Afghanistan's aspirations for a future defined by sovereignty and stability, starkly contrasting the outcomes of 2 decades of Western involvement. Afghanistan's potential role within BRICS Plus speaks to a broader realignment of power across the globe. By aligning with nations like China, Russia, and India, each significant in both economic and military terms, Afghanistan contributes to an emerging power bloc that can counterbalance Western hegemony. This shift is not merely symbolic, but indicates a strategic recalibration, as countries in Asia, Africa, and Latin America increasingly turn towards BRICS and other East-led alliances for partnership, development, and security. The global implications of Afghanistan's realignment challenge Western dominance significantly. The post-Afghanistan era marks a decisive shift toward multipolarity, a world where multiple power centers coexist and cooperate on equal terms rather than being dominated by a single superpower or alliance. Afghanistan's pivot to BRICS Plus and SCO reflects this trend, as the world witnesses the gradual erosion of unipolar Western hegemony. In this new order, emerging alliances like BRICS Plus are not merely economic but increasingly political, offering an alternative to Western-led coalitions that prioritize sovereignty and mutual benefit over intervention and imposition. One of the key challenges posed by BRICS Plus is its ambition to move away from dollar-dominated transactions, establishing independent financial systems and alternative currencies. Such initiatives threaten the established financial power of Western nations, which have long relied on the US dollar's status as the global reserve currency to exert economic influence. Afghanistan's realignment with BRICS Plus and SCO reflects an interest in joining a global movement toward financial autonomy, where nations control their economic destiny free from Western monetary constraints. The failure of Western intervention in Afghanistan has amplified the Global South's search for development models outside the Western paradigm. BRICS Plus has gained traction by offering partnerships focused on sustainable growth, infrastructure, and social development, aligning with the aspirations of nations eager to break free from neo-colonial models that often saddle them with debt and dependency. Afghanistan's alignment with BRICS Plus signals its interest in this alternative path, highlighting how the Global South is increasingly looking to East-led alliances for solutions to economic and social challenges. Afghanistan and the future of international relations toward a post-imperial global order. Afghanistan has become a potent symbol of the limitations of Western interventionism, illustrating that military might and financial resources alone are insufficient to impose lasting change on a sovereign people. The rapid Taliban resurgence following NATO's withdrawal underscores the unsustainability of occupation without genuine local support. Afghanistan's experience has resonated across the global south, reinforcing skepticism toward Western motives and increasing interest in alliances that respect sovereignty and cultural integrity. The BRICS and SCO frameworks are fundamentally different from NATO in that they emphasize respect for sovereignty and reject interventionist policies. Afghanistan's realignment reflects its preference for alliances that prioritize partnership over dominance, offering a pathway for growth without compromising autonomy. In doing so, Afghanistan serves as a test case for other nations, weighing the costs of Western alliance against the potential of East-led cooperation. This trend may accelerate as more countries see BRICS and SCO as viable alternatives to Western-dominated organizations like the IMF, World Bank, and NATO. Afghanistan's untapped resources, particularly its mineral wealth, add a strategic dimension to its alignment with BRICS. The country's lithium reserves, essential for technologies like electric vehicles and renewable energy storage, make it a valuable partner for BRICS nations seeking to secure these resources outside Western-controlled supply chains. As BRICS nations invest in infrastructure to access and develop Afghanistan's resources, Afghanistan could become an economic center that accelerates the region's shift away from Western influence, with profound implications for global trade and industry. Lessons learned. Redefining security, sovereignty, and self-determination. The Afghanistan conflict underscores the limitations of a military-first approach to foreign policy, highlighting how force alone cannot ensure sustainable governance or public support. For the West, Afghanistan's experience has raised questions about the viability of interventionist policies, which have often led to protracted conflicts, heavy financial burdens, and reputational damage. In contrast, BRICS and SCO's focus on economic cooperation and respect for sovereignty offers a compelling alternative that Afghanistan and many others find increasingly appealing. The realignment of Afghanistan toward BRICS reflects a broader trend among nations increasingly unwilling to cede sovereignty in exchange for Western alliances. Sovereignty has become a critical value in global diplomacy, and alliances like BRICS and SCO have championed it as a foundational principle. By joining these frameworks, Afghanistan is signaling its desire for a partnership that respects its right to self-determination, free from the impositions of foreign powers. This marks a shift in international relations, where autonomy and equality are becoming paramount in diplomatic relations. The Afghanistan experience has reinforced the importance of development models that prioritize self-reliance and national interests over dependence on Western aid. For Afghanistan, BRICS and SCO offer avenues for investment, trade, and growth without the conditionalities that often accompany Western aid packages. This model aligns with the aspirations of many countries in the global south who seek partnerships that empower them to control their development paths without interference. Afghanistan's realignment exemplifies this desire for independence, signaling a shift away from the West's neoliberal model of globalization. Conclusion: Afghanistan as a catalyst for a new global order. The Afghanistan war will likely be remembered as a pivotal event in the decline of Western hegemony, marking a clear shift in the world's perception of US and NATO power. The war's failure to achieve stability or democracy in Afghanistan has underscored the limits of Western intervention, exposing the ineffectiveness of imposing foreign governance models through military force. This debacle has had lasting repercussions, not only in the West's diminished credibility, but also in the emboldenment of alternative alliances seeking a more balanced global order. With the rise of BRICS Plus and Afghanistan's potential involvement, the world is witnessing the establishment of a new power structure based on mutual respect, sovereignty, and multipolarity. Afghanistan's pivot toward BRICS represents a rejection of Western-style intervention and an embrace of an inclusive vision of international relations. As BRICS continues to expand and strengthen, it offers a compelling counterpoint to the unipolar system that has defined global politics for decades. championing the interests of the global South and forging a path toward a multipolar world. The failure of the Afghanistan intervention is a testament to the unsustainability of imperialistic approaches in a world that increasingly values equality and cooperation. Afghanistan's realignment with BRICS and SCO signals a hopeful future for countries across the global South, united in their pursuit of self-determination and an inclusive global system. As nations move away from Western dominance, the world moves closer to a post-imperial era, where countries collaborate based on respect, sovereignty, and shared aspirations for prosperity. The Western failure in Afghanistan is a profound illustration of the limitations of power without understanding influence, without respect, and intervention without consent. This experience has reshaped global dynamics, fueling a shift toward alliances that prioritize equity, cooperation, and a collective pursuit of stability and growth. Afghanistan, once a symbol of Western intervention, now represents the potential of a post-imperial world order where countries of the global South are crafting their own paths, unencumbered by the dictates of distant powers. The rise of BRICS Plus embodies this transformation, heralding a new era in which nations join forces to foster a world built on shared respect, genuine partnership, and a commitment to a balanced global future.